Hello guys, in this video I'll be showing you how to do the fried liver's attack as white. So the fried liver attack is where you bring your bishop and knight out of the game and you attack one single pawn that can fork the queen and the rook. So let's get started. It starts off with white playing e4 and then your opponent responds with e5, which is the most common move because one thing to know in chess is it's always good to take control of the center, and this pawn just does just that. So now, knight f3 as white, which is also a very common move. That is the most common response as black because it develops a piece and protects the e5 knight that was getting attacked by the f3 knight. Now, as white, you play bishop c4, which again is a normal developing move, nothing out of the ordinary. And again, one more common developing move, knight f6, because this attacks the e4 pawn and it comes with tempo. It develops a piece. So now as white, you play knight g5. It protects the pawn, but there's also another purpose for this move. If black was an amateur player and didn't know the fried liver attack, they would probably simply bring h6 to push your knight out of the way and then eventually take the e4 pawn and probably happy that they're up a pawn. But they're mistaken here because white can simply take the f7 pawn and put a fork on the queen on d1, d8, and the rook on h8. So if they move their rook, then their queen is gone. If they move their queen, then their rook is gone. And now you are up material, and which ultimately you win the game if you're up by this much material. So now that you've learned the fried liver attack as white, let's see how to defend it. So in this situation, one way to defend it is playing bishop c5, which is a common move for black, because if the knight tries to move to f5, then the queen can just take it right here. So now let's see what happens let's see if you can stop it by still playing knight f6. So after knight g5, then you can play d5 to cut off the bishop's line to f7. So as white, your most common response would be to take the pawn. You know what, I'm going to flip the board so you could see it as black. So I would do two things here. I'll tell you one of them. Knight a5 is actually a really good move because after bishop b5, you just simply push to c6, pawn takes, and then pawn takes, and then it forces the bishop back, and this position is pretty much even. Or I think taking with the knight also wouldn't hurt. It's still an even position. So now let's see what else black can do here. So one thing that I like to play in this position, if they are just an amateur player, is I like to play knight d4. This comes with tempo, but it also comes with the little trick if white falls for it. So if white pushes d6, continuing to want to attack the f7 pawn with the bishop and knight, you simply take with your queen. They might think, why would you do that? Because I can still take this pawn and double attack on your rook and queen, but this comes with a sneaky little idea. You bring your queen to c6, attacking the bishop, and either they can protect it with the pawn by pushing, move their bishop away, or they can just simply take the rook. Most people would probably take the rook because they'd say, okay, a bishop for a rook, that's fair because a rook is worth more points, I'll be up material, no big deal. So let's see what happens if they do that. So you're not going to take the bishop, you're actually going to take this pawn right here. Now, white's only response to save the rook is to play rook f1. Now, this is an absolute blunder because After queen e4, the only two moves they have is putting the queen here, but that will end in not a good situation because you could take the queen with the knight. If they play bishop e2, then this amazing move with the knight will come with the checkmate. Now that I've told you it's the knight, let's see if you can find it. Yes, you could do this, but you just win a queen. That's it. There's a much better idea there. Here. Knight f3 is just a checkmate. Because the bishop can't take the knight because it's pinned. The bishop is pinned to the king by the queen. And that's the only piece attacking the knight. And the king can't move, so this is a checkmate. So I hope you enjoyed watching the fried liver attack and watching how to defend it. Hopefully you can use this on players and win more games. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.